All right. Good morning. It is 9/11, September 20th, 2023, and we're here for the regular meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Airport District Board of Directors. Call to order, roll call. Denise?
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. And Pledge of Allegiance. Director Miller, would you like to?
Sure. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communications, announcements, and informational items.
I have one.
Good news, I hope.
It is good news. So on September the 5th, Labor Day, our restaurateur got an email from USA Today saying that he had made the top 20 restaurants at airports in the US, and that it is now up to the Reader's Choice vote. So we mounted a huge campaign, huge. My fingers are tired of tapping, but we have so far, as of late yesterday, he got an email from them, and it says, we're halfway through voting. The current leaders in USA Today's 10 best restaurants contests are: best airport sit-down restaurant, #1 is Woody's at the airport.
Yay.
So we're halfway through. The voting is until October 2nd. The voting also, if you vote like late at night, like you vote at 8:30, if you just stay up to 9:02, you can vote again, because the voting is on East Coast time, 1 per day. So you can actually.
I didn't know you could do multiple.
Every day.
You can vote every day, and it changes at 9 o'clock because it's midnight on the East Coast. So I'm just telling you all, I'm asking you all, just put it on your calendar every day, vote, and let's keep him #1. Every other restaurant is at a huge airport.
Yeah.
It's at Houston, it's at Atlanta, it's at Chicago, it's at Phoenix. So this is pretty amazing that it's on the list. And I just think it's our time to shine. We have the #1 FBO in North America, and I believe we should have the #1 sit-down restaurant in North America. So that's my announcement. We're #1. Let's keep it there, keep the momentum up, and send it out to your families. There's no restriction on who can vote on this. So send it out far and wide and keep every day. Thank you. We win if he wins.
Can't we offshore this to some Malaysia or someplace and get a lot of votes coming in?
No, and
someone else is thinking about this.
and you cannot
I'm
give
surprised they
you
haven't
cannot give incentives. He cannot offer somebody free fries if they vote, that sort of thing. It has to be that it's a straight vote. So anyway, that's my announcement for all of us.
That we continue to wish Woody success.
Yeah, that's due to great part to your efforts, Mary Ann.
Well, I am nothing but a
Any-
campaigner.
Any other communications or announcements, informational items? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and go to public comments on non-agenda items. We're going to go ahead and open it to public comment. The attorney, maybe you could just summarize what you shared with me, Mr. Huber.
Sure. At the last meeting, there was direction given to prepare a policy amendment or a policy that will allow for public comment to be allowed even for individuals who are attending remote. I was not able to get that done in writing for this meeting. However, I did notify the chair that it would be, certainly would not have any problem based on the feedback that we received from all the board members regarding open communications and hearing from constituents, to go ahead and even though the policy is not here on this agenda for approval today, to go ahead and allow comments from individuals on any item on the agenda, including non-agenda items, from members of the public, as well as individuals who are attending online.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So if anybody would want to raise their hand online, they can do so. And if anybody in the room here would like to make public comment, you're welcome to do so as well. Seeing none. No hands are raised at this point. I'll just give it a few more seconds as we just announced that. We have 6 attendees right now online. All right, I'll go ahead and close public comments on non-agenda items. The consent agenda action items. Anyone like to pull anything? Or have a motion?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
First by Director Lawful and second by Director Gagliotti. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We have to do roll call, don't we?
We need to roll
Yeah,
call.
with, yeah.
Aye.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right, we'll just note, I guess Director Pick is off, maybe just offline at 9:18. He is attending remotely on the East Coast, Rhode Island, I believe. 2 regular agenda action items. The first one, resolution number 1857, a resolution authorizing and approving the work order between the Monterey Peninsula Airport District and Coast County's Glass, Inc.
And that will be myself presenting. So thank you, Board of Directors, and good morning. In June, when we adopted the fiscal year budget FY24, the capital budget included a project to increase the height of the glass in the outside gate courtyard. It will provide much better use and security of that facility. So we have been working with Coast County's Glass to come out and measure and give us, it's a very unusual site. It drops off, the heights are not, they're varied all the way along. So they have presented us with this work order that is attached to the resolution and the staff report. The cost to increase the glass on that is for $41,000. Well, $40,950. We rounded up to $41,000, easier number. And the work can commence immediately. They're ready to get out there and do that installation for us, which will just make it, again, we'll be able to have better security with the increase of the glass and not have false alarms if people happen to be close to the lower heights of the glass as it exists today. So it just makes operations and security much better. So with that, we'd ask that you approve the cost estimate for the work order of $41,000 to Coast County's Glass. And I would add that the budget item for that is we have $55,000 in the actual budget for this work.
Thank you. Ms. Brownlow.
I said one
Any
question.
comments?
Yeah, yeah, it's not a comment, it's a question. What are they gonna do with the glass that they take down?
They're not taking down, it's
They're
going to
gonna-
go up on top of.
Okay, perfect.
So it's going to be extended.
All right, great, thank you.
I'll go ahead and take it out to public.
Public comment?
Yeah, can do public comment and then bring it back. I'll open it up to public comment, both those attending online as well in the room. Seeing head, nose.
Director Pick is
here.
back.
And Director Pick is back,
At
9:21.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I had to move to get signal.
Okay, and I see no hands raised online as well, so we'll go ahead and bring it to the dais. Any other items for the board?
I would move that we approve resolution number 1857.
Second.
Director Laffel first and Director Gagliotti second, and we need a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Great to see the vendor was so close to us too, Ryan Ranch. Second item, resolution number 1858, a resolution certifying the mitigated negative, thank you, not negative declaration for the well water improvements, adopting related findings and project mitigation measures, and approving the well water line improvements project. Who would like to take this?
Sure. Happy to start with this. This is a resolution certifying a mitigating negative declaration for the water well improvements. We're required to do some studies and analysis, and it allow the public an opportunity to comment. So there will be we'll need to open up a hearing for members of the public to comment. And then of course close the public hearing, and then we'll each have comments from staff members as well. These are related to the water improvements and take it there. Okay.
So we just wanted to make sure you understood this is a public hearing on this action item.
Great. Do we formally open that, or is it just happens?
It'll happen as soon as the presentation's done.
Got it.
So again, to remind the board and those that haven't been on the board for a while, we started looking at the wells on the airport site in 2019. Really looking to, our focus was to take the quick turnaround car rental facility where they wash cars off of our CalAm and gain those credits back to us, and possibly put them on non-potable water. As we've looked through wells and done analyses for the last few years, we were able to locate 2 existing wells that we had on site at actually one that we acquired with the purchase of the 2801 properties in 2020 that had viability but were unusable at the time. So we were able to get a permit for destroying and constructing those 2 wells, which we did last year. Since that time, we've been doing the analysis on the amount of water that we have available to those. And we found that we have ample water, especially for non-potable water uses. And there is the potential for some potable water use in the future. With that, we started to look at now, what would a project look like to use those? So I'm going to walk you through the analyses of the project. We've separated it into 2 components. Phase 1, the 2801 Monterey Salinas Highway properties, and 2999 would be a future use, because we see that as a possible use for the replacement terminal. So we're not constructing or planning to construct that initially, but we did do an analysis, a CEQA analysis on both as we went through it. Give me something. So in CEQA, there are mandatory environmental requirements that you look at that have might have potential effects. So we look at them all, and which we did, and that's in the analyses and the document that you have that's in your packet. There were 3 that have potential impacts, significant impacts. Again, those are checked here: the biological resources, utilities, and cultural resources. So those are the 3 that have potential significant impacts. And then we have mandatory findings of significance that go along with those 3. Please. This shows the site and the biological resources of the 2801 Monterey Salinas Highway property. So the areas in green on the screen are biological resources that we have studied and we know are there. The area in red is the haul route, the red dotted line that's there is the haul route that goes along with it. And then hard to see, but on the other side of the long green that is closest to the runway surfaces is the dotted line, which is where the well line would go. It will be done, we're looking at doing everything via a direct bore. So we will only really be doing resource effects on the air, on the pits where we'll be having to put the drill bore site in. So we're really avoiding as much as we can by doing a direct bore. And if you can go to the next one as well, this is just showing the property lines for the district and the property lines where the city of Monterey starts. So the dotted line is to the east of that, where it says Monterey city limits, is the city limits. So the property at 2801 currently sits within the city limits, and a small line along the highway, the 68 highway area, but that's not being touched in this project. So when, and if you go back to the one before it, if you don't mind for a second, you'll see where we're doing the bore and the lines. That's all within airport property district lines. The actual well itself, which is in the middle of the right-hand side of that photo, is where the well sits, and that is within the city of Monterey's limits. Next 2 slides, please. For the Tarpey site, and again, it's a bit hard to see, and if you look in your book, it is in there, but there's a blue line coming from the runway surface down. That is an existing water line that was constructed during the RSA project. It was constructed specifically at that time for our mitigation requirements to do the plantings. That line still exists, so we just need to get the line from the red dot over to the right of that picture, which is right behind on the 2999 properties, under our fence line and over to connect to the blue line. So that would be the second phase of the project. Again, direct bore for this and over and connect to an existing water line that already is there.
So the red line is already there. That's what we were using for irrigation, but we're not using it, or
No, the
the
red
blue
line is the
line
new
is the
line.
one that we were using for
That is
irrigation.
correct. Yes.
But we no longer use that one.
Correct. We have completed our requirements for irrigation on that mitigation successfully. So all of the mitigation was completed successfully, and we're no longer need to continually irrigate that site. So we now have an existing line down there that is no longer in use, so we can connect to it and basically reverse what we were doing. We were bringing water from the top of the airport.
Cal
down,
and water.
yeah, down to irrigate. Now we're going to use it in reverse. We're going to bring water from that well site
Yeah.
back up to the airport.
That's
That's
the
not
beauty of a
always.
pipe. I guess it works both ways.
It does.
Why is that red line? It looks like it's going into the road. Am I
It's just
just,
the haul route. So it's just how they would come in. We have to identify how they would get in. They would just be using the existing road that is there on that property. So that's how how the contractor would access the site.
thank you.
Next one, please. So again, the mandatory findings, as we talked about right from that first chart that we looked at, were biological resources, and the definitions are they could have a substantial adverse effect either directly or through habitat modifications or any species identified as a candidate, sensitive, or special status species in local or regional plans, policies, or regulations, or by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife or U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. Also can conflict with any local policies or ordinances protecting biological resources, such as tree preservation policy or ordinance. And lastly, conflict with the provisions of an adopted habitat conservation plan, natural community conservation plan, or an approved local, regional, or state habitat conservation plan. And all 3 of these actually are in effect for this project. So the next slide, please, will show the mitigation that we have in place, we will propose to have in place and will do to protect that and to make it down to significance, below significance, is to the extent possible. Initial vegetation and clearing activities would be conducted between October and February, which is outside the typical migratory bird breeding season for the area. If the schedule does not allow this for that season, then a nesting bird survey would be conducted no more than a week prior to grading, and appropriate actions would be taken if nesting birds were there. based on the timing right now, we probably will be constructing within the window of October to February. So the nesting bird survey might not be necessary, but if again, depending on timing, we would have to do that if we do. And that's a typical requirement that we do in just about every project that we have here.
None of these species are of concern or protected, correct?
We wouldn't know that until, we did the nesting birds survey. So this one's for the survey of nesting birds. And again, we wouldn't know that but any bird, basically almost all birds are protected. So if there's a nest, we would have, depending on the type of bird, you'd have to stay away from it
Yeah.
50 feet to 100 feet
Right.
to depend, again, it depends on what type of a nest might exist. The second biological mitigation that we would be undertaking was prior to ground disturbance, an environmental monitor will be retained to ensure all compliance with the mitigation measures. And third biological requirement is prior to the commencement of ground disturbance, the environmental monitor shall conduct an environmental awareness training for the construction personnel. We also always put up environmental monitoring fencing. That's part of the requirement too. So that fencing goes up so that they know exactly where, or the areas are flagged. There are, as I showed you in the first one, there are biological resources that will be avoiding, which are Yadons, Piperia, and possibly Seaside's bird's beak.
What's the second one?
Seaside's
This bird's
bird's beak.
Yeah,
Okay.
plant.
Yadons we're very familiar with, and
Mm.
almost every project we've had to mitigate for it.
Could you just guide us, what page of the packet is the slide, or is the slide different?
I didn't see actually and that's a good point. I didn't see the mitigation measures. I saw the findings of significance, but I didn't see the measures. Although it does refer for the culturals, it refers back to section 5, but I didn't see these.
Page 43?
So again, they
Roughly.
are in there,
Is it
the
under?
mandatory findings pages, is part of it. It should be attachment B.
Oh, it's in the, okay, all right.
MMRP, the mitigation monitoring and reporting program.
Okay. All right. It's just a stylistic thing. So-
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Trying,
Thank you.
So, yeah, and the stylistic is that the attachment A that you have is the document that went out for the public review and comment. So it was out for public review and comment. We incorporate those in and do a final, and then we have the other attachment, which is the mitigation
Okay.
monitoring and reporting program based on all the information we got, including all the public comment that might have come. Next slide, please. Biological resource mitigation requirement number 4. Project plans will clearly show project delineation fencing. As I stated, staging areas and fencing shall be installed prior to any ground disturbance. The monitoring biologist shall field fit the replacement of the fencing to minimize impacts to adjacent sensitive resources, and the fencing will remain in place throughout the duration of the project. And mitigation measure number 5. For biological resources prior to site disturbance, the environmental monitor shall coordinate with the contractors to facilitate the avoidance of Monterey pines, coast live oak, and sand manzanita to the maximum extent possible. If avoidance is not feasible, manzanita plant removal will be planted at a 2-to-1 ratio. Monterey pine and coast live oak will be planted at a 1-to-1 ratio. If the airport is successful at avoiding all the mitigation, the airport will not replace or mitigate for plants that are not impacted. So again, very similar to what we've done in the past, but these will be the mitigation requirements that will be in place. The last biological resource.
Chris, have we identified any land we had to buy land to mitigate a few years ago. If we have we identified any?
It would be on site. So we have 4 mitigation areas on airport property that still have availability for additional resources.
Okay, good. Good. So they're ours and we can use them.
That is correct. And the last one, biological resource number 6, if avoidance of a tree or shrub located within the jurisdiction, and this is based on the comments received from the city of Monterey. The city of Monterey is not feasible during project implementation. We will submit a tree removal permit with the city of Monterey. So those are the biological resource components. Now we'll move to cultural resources. Part of CEQA requirements is that we reach out to the tribes. And we did that prior to even going out to the public. That is a requirement that we do. We did not have any requests for consultation, but even without request, we still always protect the cultural resources that might be found on airport property. So again, cultural resources cause a substantial adverse change in significance of historical resources pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 10564.5. Cause a substantial adverse change in the significance of an archaeological resource pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 106.564.5. Or have a substantial adverse effect on state or federally protected wetlands, including but not limited to marsh, vernal pools, coastal, etc., through direct removal, filling, hydrological interruption, or other means. So what we will propose for cultural resource mitigation, if you go to the next slide, please, is one, prior to ground project implementation, a qualified archaeologist will conduct a cultural resource awareness training for all construction personnel. Mitigation number 2 for cultural archaeological monitoring of grading, trenching, pit excavation in areas where there's a potential for undiscovered cultural resources due to the amount of dense vegetation present will be conducted during ground disturbance activities. And cultural resource number 3, mitigation requirement. If cultural resources are found, the construction of the project will stop in the immediate vicinity, and an archaeologist who meets the Secretary of the Interior's professional qualification standards will be retained to evaluate the find and recommend relevant mitigation measures. Again, we had no request for consultation, but due to the dense vegetation and the proximity of the airport to cultural resources in the community, we feel that we still need to always be vigilant and monitor and have mitigation requirements. Finally, so the mandatory findings of significance under CEQA require or result in the relocation of construction of new or expanded water, wastewater treatment of storm water drainage, electrical power or natural gas or telecommunications facilities, the construction of or relocation of which could cause significant impacts. Because this is a utility that we are constructing, this could be a significant impact. So that's why that one is checked. The mitigation requirements for that. The proposed project is the construction of 2 water lines and ancillary structures and electrical improvements to power the water infrastructure. Mitigation measures will be implemented to ensure that construction of the proposed project would not result in any significant impacts on the surrounding environment. And the less than significant impact, the water lines would obtain water from airport installed replacement wells. Based upon the 2 well reports, the well source capacity is more than adequate for a non-transient, non-community water system on airport property. And that is in consultation with both Monterey County Health and Monterey Water Management District. The report further concludes that there will be less than significant impacts on sensitive environmental receptors and neighboring well springs, creeks that share the same water source. So finally, mitigation findings of significance is the proposed project could have potential impacts to sensitive biological resources as discussed in section 4 of the initial study. Mitigation measures will be implemented to reduce the impacts below a level of significance. Similarly, mitigation measures are included to reduce the potential for impacts to cultural resources as discussed in section 5 within previously undisturbed portions of the project site to a level below a level of significance. With that, those are the findings that we ask you to adopt with the resolution. So the resolution is both to adopt the mitigated negative depth and the findings. With that, we'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Now, since this, Scott, yeah,
Yeah, this time would be appropriate.
public hearing. Okay. So we open up the public hearing at this time and ask for public comment. And again, those attending online are welcome.
Do you have the public online if you wish to comment on this?
I see no one in the room wanting to speak at the mic. And I see no hands raised. I'll go ahead and close the We close public hearing,
It's public hearing or public
Yes.
comment?
public hearing.
You can close the public hearing because now the public has had an opportunity to.
Oh,
consider.
got it, understood.
Okay, so now we close the public hearing and we'll limit the discussion on staff and building.
Perfect.
Comments?
I have one clarification. This is outside of the Seaside Basin.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I
That
want
was
to make sure
confirmed.
that everybody understands that. It
Yep.
is not in the Seaside Basin. So,
And that was confirmed in a letter from the Monterey Water Management District.
okay, perfect. And the timing, the first, I guess, part of this, if we pass this, is that it will be the monitoring from October to February?
No, the monitoring will only take place during the project. So whenever before we start construction, we will hire a biologist who will come out and put the pins in the ground for where the fencing will need to go with the contractor and do the training. And if it's between October and February, we do not need to do a nesting bird survey.
All right,
If
that
it's
starts after that.
Yes,
Okay.
if the construction doesn't start till after February, then we will be doing a nesting bird survey as well and making sure there are no nests. If there are, then those get marked off and avoidance has to be implemented around those pursuant to what type of a bird it might be.
Okay, so I got them reversed and that makes sense, when the birds are flying back and forth. So, okay, thank you. That's mine.
Thank you. Miller.
I read Monterey's letter,
Mhm.
so we have to come up with a building permit for them.
We will work with the city, correct? Yeah, just for the portion that's on their property, which is the well itself.
So the well is actually in,
On
I always assumed it was in Del Reyes, but it's in the city of Monterey.
The 2801 Monterey.
Oh,
Salinas
the
Highway
Fenton
property,
Keller, okay, yes.
is within the city of Monterey's limits.
And are we going, and they also express a concern about if we need to take out any trees.
We need to get a permit for that as well. So those are the two requirements that we need to do with the city of Monterey.
Does it look like we're gonna have to take out any trees in
We
that?
won't know that until we really get into it. There's a possibility of potentially one.
Let's hope not.
We will get the permit and move forward and then mitigate for it.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that's in the amendment to Monterey's comments. And then on page 9, item 10, it looks like it was added. So
That's right.
anyone else?
How long does the nest survey take if we have to go down that road?
A nest survey,
Yeah,
okay, he comes out, walks the site, looks to see, or he or she, the biologist comes out, walks the site.
so that's to collect the data and then it has to be analyzed or?
No, they're just looking for nests. That's all. I mean, literally, that's all they're doing is looking for active
Yeah,
nesting birds.
and then on that day, they would then put a flag and then there would be a buffer around that on that day? Okay. All right. No other questions. I mean, this is easy. It's a good one.
Director Pick, did I see?
No,
all
no
good?
questions.
Okay.
Chair, thanks. Good presentation, Chris.
Yeah. I don't have questions either. I appreciate the
Yeah.
effort and. what-
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 1858, a resolution certifying the mitigated negative declaration for the well water improvements, adopting related findings and project mitigation measures, and approving the well water line improvements project.
Second.
All right.
Carl or Director Miller for the second and roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
This is such a wonderful day because to be able to get off of some of that potable water
yes.
for things that we're using is just a fabulous. So thank you, staff, for marching forward on
Yeah, it's
this.
been a long time coming,
Yeah,
but
the
they've
last couple of
really
years.
been diligent doing it, keeping it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
The community thanks you.
Item number 3, resolution number 1859, a resolution authorizing and amending the fiscal year 2024 salary schedule, listing salary ranges for the Monterey Peninsula Airport District. And this is an adoption item. Who would like to take this, Director?
I'll take the board through that. So the genesis of this, the background is in this year's budget, we approved an additional position for the financial analyst. And to date, that financial analyst position has not been filled. Between the beginning of the fiscal year and recently, my financial accountant retired. And so I took the time to kind of evaluate her duties and what I had contemplated the duties of the financial analyst to be. And my judgment is that I can combine those two into one position. So this resolution is to eliminate the financial accountant position, the position of the person who retired, and to upgrade the financial analyst position to an assistant controller position, reporting to me as would the financial analyst, and give the financial analyst duties and responsibilities that the financial accountant was performing. So I think the revised assistant controller position would be very efficient and kind of bring together both the key duties of the person who retired plus the additional duties that we basically duties and expertise that we don't have currently in the finance department. So the net of this would be to decrease the overall headcount by one position. And while the range of the assistant controller is higher than that of the financial analyst, because we are eliminating a position, the overall savings is about $85,000.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'll go ahead and take it out for public comment. And those attending online are welcome to make comment. Just need to raise your hand. And those in the room can join us at the mic. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close it and open it up for conversation, discussion, motions.
I just have one question. I mean, how difficult is it going to find this person?
I would say it would be difficult, although I have already interviewed one person that certainly I think would have the hard skills. I have certain reservations about soft skills fit, but I think it's realistic. But it is a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. And a follow-on question is, how quickly do you need the role filled? Yesterday.
I would say that my priority is to get the right person.
Yeah.
Both with the skills
Appreciate that.
and that will fit in the organization well. And in the interim, I can perform all the duties that are necessary.
Excellent. Thank you.
We talked about this in finance and I fully support this. I believe that the changes are going to be actually beneficial to trying to find someone. And so, and I appreciate the fact that Mark has the skills and talent that he has, because I think he'll be able to work with somebody and further develop their skills and form the team that he needs in order to do the analysis that we're going to need as we go out for terminal financing. So I really think this is a key part in the step of where we're going for the ultimate, which is a terminal. So anyway, I fully support it.
No questions. Thank you. Good luck.
Director Pick, I don't see your hand raised. I'll go ahead and say it was good to see this as well. And I do think, the caliber person you can get for some of the financial reporting and some of the things we'll be going through will be of value. To confirm, our HR analyst consultant just looked over the job description and things. And we're eliminating the other positions as a result of this, so I appreciate it being updated.
Okay, I'll move that we approve and adopt resolution number 1859, a resolution authorizing and amending the fiscal year 2024 salary schedule, listing salary ranges for the Monterey Peninsula Airport District.
I'll second.
And first by Director Leffel and seconded by Director Gagliardi. All in, no, roll call.
Aye.
Thanks, Dino.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Denise. Hey, just a quick comment. I'm sorry, I missed my turn to
Oh.
comment. I appreciate the salary savings, the position elimination, and the thoughtfulness in redesigning this, and fully support it. Aye.
Yes.
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 Okay, Mark, get to interviewing. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Huber just passed out something. I'm sure he'll explain that. We are on to item number 4, amendment to the employment agreement with Michael LaPierre.
Scott, before you start, I'm not hearing you through your mic for whatever reason.
Oh, now, is that better?
Nope.
1 minute, we'll work on it.
Dino, can you hear this microphone?
I can.
Okay.
We'll swap.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, Madam Chair and board members, this item is on for your consideration. Mr. Lapierre has served as the executive director since 2015. Recently just had a positive evaluation, and Mr. Lapierre was offered an adjustment to his compensation and an extension of the employment agreement. He was offered a 3% increase in salary, as well as a one-time incentive payment of $10,000. In addition, the board agreed to extend the employment agreement by 1 year. In my conversations with Mr. Lapierre following the presentation of his evaluation, that was acceptable to him. He agreed, and so this matter was prepared and placed on the agenda. So the new termination date of the amended employment agreement will be July 31, 2025. It's currently July 31, 2024. So we'll extend that by 1 year. And again, following a positive evaluation in or around July of 2024, then the board and Lapierre can meet to negotiate an additional 1 year extension to the agreement. I will say the pull of grandbabies is quite stiff at sometimes, and so there are options available for all parties to agree to an extension of the agreement, should that be the desire of everyone. So I was directed to prepare this item. I will mention to you that on the item that's on the agenda, paragraph number 1 currently says that the salary increase is effective July 1 of 2023. And in my mind, I was thinking that follows with a fiscal year, but the contract goes from August 1. So we're syncing it up with the contract. So the retroactive salary increase would go to August 1, 2023. That is a change from what's in the agenda. I did pass out updated Second Amendment pages to you. But for those that are online, in paragraph 1 of the Second Amendment, instead of saying effective July 1 of 2023, it now says August 1 of 2023. Other than that, there were no changes to the item. Happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Could I clarify too, item 5B of the contract will be, could you say something that's closed session matter? So I don't want to.
Yeah, so 5B of the contract talks about goals and objectives. There will be a separate closed session meeting for the executive director to bring proposed goals and for the board to discuss and agree upon some goals for the upcoming year. Yeah, that'll be done in a separate, very likely a special meeting, but
I'll go ahead and take it out for public comment.
are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? If so, please use the raise hand function. Madam Chair, I don't see any.
Don't see any, and no one in the room. Go ahead and open it up to the board.
No, I don't have any additional comments. I think that we've hashed out, I think, a workable deal and a path forward to the chair's point. We are looking forward to that further on discussion. But in terms of the compensation and the extension, I'm fully supportive.
I'll just say I thank Mr. Lapierre for his diligence and putting a lot more seats in the market. I think that for our community that is sensitive to how many planes fly in and out of here, the fact that we've actually reduced some planes but added seats is remarkable. And it shows that the airlines have a lot of faith in our community and in our ability to service them. And I look forward to more of those. Your work's not done. So, you know, it's what have you done for me lately? And I think that the ongoing faith that FAA has shown in this airport and in our continuation of our safety and modernization with the newest 2 grants that were announced this last week through Congressman Panetta's office, I think it really shows that we have both the faith of FAA and of the airlines in how we're operating and that we are a really good market and that in all of that, we are sensitive to the community of what their needs are. And we continue through the staff to look for new routes that will take them where they want to go effectively and efficiently. So anyway, I thank you. I think this is a fair contract, fair amendment, and I fully support it.
I can't talk. I echo all those sentiments. I think we've had an extremely good year. We're moving forward in a very positive direction on so many different fronts. And I thank you and your staff that you've assembled for all your efforts and accomplishments. And we look forward to continuing to move forward and work with you to give you all the tools necessary for you to continue doing this job. Thank you, Mike.
The personnel matter, I do want to recognize the flights and the seats and the grant items as already board members have revealed. Thank you.
Ina?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Director Pick?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll just echo everything that Marianne and Carl said, and just say, you know, lot of hard work left to do here, Mike, and you and your team, you know, have our confidence to you know, run hard through the finish line. Appreciate everything the team is doing.
Must be on the marathon. All right.
So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve and accept the amendment to employment agreement with Mr. Michael Lapierre.
Second.
I'll second.
Dr. Miller, second, first.
Or Dino can have it.
Doesn't matter.
First
Thank you.
at it, first dibs. Director Lovell and Director Miller, unless, yeah,
Director Gagliotti,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Level,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
No. Board committee reports and acceptance of department reports. We've got 3 standing committees. Budget and Finance, we have had Mr. Gagliotti join that, but any update to that? That has not met for 2 months, 3 months now. There's been,
I have met
Met
informally with
informally.
staff to go over contracts and things prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
But we have not had we haven't had another committee
Quorum.
member. So we have met, but we have not had I guess, official committee meeting.
Mhm.
So, and I mean, we went over, just so you know, we went over the contracts that were approved today. And so that's what you're seeing.
and I know there are notes in the packet as well. Air Service Marketing Community Relations Director Pick. You want to share anything?
Thanks, Chair.
on that?
So I'll summarize the meeting by saying that the number of planes continues to be fewer total flights, but our number of seats is robust and strong. So we're seeing larger planes with more seats, though fewer planes. And we're eating into the loss rate to San Francisco and San Jose a bit. That's encouraging. And then I think Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we're ready to share any air service news at this time.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Got it. And in other news, we had a significant uptick in complaints, noise complaints. Many of those are due to our military aircraft, the F-35s and transports that are coming through. And it's good to see the responses from the airport to the constituents, in spite of the increase in complaints. And then in terms of feedback and comments in the airport, there were a few that were related to the operating staff of the airlines, and one very sweet, positive note written by a traveler that was submitted to us and then onto the person that deserved it. It was nice to see somebody take the time to write a positive review of TSA and of our ramp staff from the airlines. That's all I have. Chair, you can fill in any gaps I missed there.
Yeah, you're bumping on your video. I'm not sure why.
It's just probably a weak signal.
Signal?
Yeah.
Okay. We went over Landrum and Brown's information too for the quarter, and kind of some of the advanced bookings. Things were quite informational. It's in the packet. Encourage other, directors. I'm sure some have looked at it, but it's interesting too, where the largest airports are seeing the trends, and, they're seeing the decrease in flights and seats to some extent. The other thing was, I think we discussed that the phone app has finally been resolved. And that had been an outstanding item for some time. So that was great news that they didn't have to do anything. There wasn't any action that was required of people, that the update was able to be pushed out for both the iPhone as well as the Android platforms, was my understanding. And that had been an item for some time. Okay.
I have a couple questions on that. So on that, the terminal feedback log, did we forward to Alaska Airline about their wonderful employee?
We were told that they did, that we had conversation.
But I mean,
And-
in writing that this is a wonderful employee. I mean, we get
Do
so
that.
many,
If we haven't done it, let's
As-
do it.
as I think, as
The
Carl says,
complaints.
we often dwell on the negative and don't
Yeah.
accentuate the positive. And this was such a good thing, singling her out by name. I really think we need to make sure that Alaska has totaled that.
And
And,
we,
and maybe we even just give her a little thing from all of us as a thank you.
Oh.
I mean,
A
Recognition.
keychain?
well, a $10 Starbucks card or something, or a lunch at Woody's. I just think it would
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be a nice
Yeah.
gesture because she really put a good face on our airport.
can we as a board direct that? I mean, to Mike, can we put on letterhead that thing and send it to last?
So Michael, what we're saying is that the excellent for Jenna at Alaska Airlines that was in our package, we would like on our letterhead, a letter from you to Alaska saying that she is an exemplary employee and that maybe out of your expense account, you could treat her to lunch at Woody's as a thank you. I just think it's just
Totally.
such a good thing. So
Yeah.
that's number one. And then number two, not to be, some of these were pretty like, they also named some people and not in a very good way at all. So have we then talked to American and to TSA about their employees? Because you could, one's by name and then one is identified by his physical characteristics, so you can tell who it is.
Yeah, we have communications with both TSA and the airlines when we get comments about that, so they're aware of what we've received. We'll continue to work with them. TSA, I think, is suffering a little bit from hiring and also the fact that they're just much busier, and I think they've got a different team down there than we're used to. American, you know, I won't say we have continued issues there, but on occasion we have reports of employee misbehavior. We always make sure that we tell the appropriate officials at American, both the station manager and if needed further into their organization. It's the best we can do at this point. And we'll just continue.
Okay, my thing is just, are we passing it on
We
to
are.
the appropriate people, both the not so good and the excellent? Because I do think the excellent it was really outstanding, and I think we need to make sure that they know that, so.
Sure.
That was my comment on it, and I read the logs and the everything. And then I think we talked about once a quarter that maybe we could actually go over the Landrum and Brown a little bit rather than just have it in the package and highlight if there's anything that needs to be, because 2 people hear it, but 3 people don't. And sometimes the real story is in the narrative that goes with it. So,
Yeah, that's easy. We can put that on the October agenda.
okay, that was me.
I've just
You're
got a
looking
comment
for-
or a question. Cost for employment's inched up a little bit, about a little bit over $1. What was the trigger on that?
That's all seasonality. Particularly during the summer months, we'll be more active in certain things that are appropriate to do during the summer and not during winter. So that's all seasonality. You'll start to see that go down.
I know we've talked about this, but the more people that are flying, the lower the cost goes. So that's mainly attributed to that. And this is
Well, Director Miller, may I interject? We also increased our rates and charges, which would increase the cost per employee.
okay.
And that's as well the effect that we'll see in our numbers when you compare to prior periods.
And this is a blend of all the airlines. So like I would think
Correct.
American's airlines cost per employment would be considerably lower.
The more passengers you have to spread those costs, the lower your cost will be.
Okay. How do we compare with, our
We're still very favorable.
airports we normally compare to?
What I refer to as the cohort. You want to talk to that, Mark?
So the dollar increase that we see is what we anticipated when we went through the budget and we looked at our racing charges and we looked at our comparable set. It's exactly where we thought we would be.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
My only comment is I will not be able to make the October 18th, or the next meeting, the October meeting. I'm gonna be out of it.
Well, we moved it to the next to the 24th.
Then let me check that. I had the old date. Let me look at that.
And we'll set budget and finance whenever you can be there.
Okay.
I'm flexible.
And, you know, kind of on that point, we also created the ability to, attend the subcommittees remotely. Is that correct? Yeah. Similar, I mean, it's just the same protocol and rules.
Oh, we can? I thought the state had stopped us from doing that.
No, we can offer the opportunity for remote participation in committee.
Okay.
That's.
We can?
public.
Yeah, yeah.
The
it's been-
location.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's,
But is it a reason as well as a location or,
So it depends on.
Do you have the microphone that's working?
Yeah.
I'm thinking it just gone to sleep.
So for board members, the ability to attend remotely would need to be, you either have to have a physical address where you're going to be, or you have to fit into one of the new reasons that were put in by the legislature, predominantly related to either illness or taking care of someone who's sick
Yeah.
or an emergency reason. That would of course need to be approved by, if it's a board meeting, the board, or if it's a committee.
Hey,
meeting.
Scott, sorry to interrupt you. Can you grab Mike's mic?
We just swapped a minute ago.
I gotta press
Is
this.
this one better?
I don't think so.
Denise isn't talking. Take hers.
Is that one better? Do you know?
No, that's weird. I
Here.
can't hear you.
This one work?
That one works.
They're
Okay.
just going through microphones like crazy.
It is
We're going
good
to
that somebody
microphones
said
here.
remotely,
That's
so
a
we
little,
make
a little
sure.
like Taylor Swift. Not at all like her.
Mhm.
I don't have the cash flow either like her, but, or the outfits, of course, but, anyway, so, going back for online purposes. So if a board member needs to attend remotely, what I'll call the old school Brown Act ways of you publish the address, the physical address where you're going to be, that works similar to what we have on the agenda here today. The other method is the recent amendments to the Brown Act, which include remote attendance on an urgency basis related to either physical illness, participation from a hospital, not so hypothetically speaking, of course, from a couple of weeks, a couple of meetings ago. Or for child, taking care of a child who's ill or sick, those would need to be approved by the board at that meeting or approved previously prior to publication, which is, again, there's a procedure for that, which I won't bore you with in the moment. If it's a committee meeting, then that can be approved just on the fly, not a problem. Assuming that one of those reasons is valid for a board member. For members of the public, ironically, none of those limitations apply. They can just participate from wherever they are. We don't have to have any publication or any issues. And again, you'll see a policy coming forward that will incorporate that, as I was directed at the last meeting to bring forward. But members of the public have, well, I'll use the term, easier methods of participation from remote locations than do elected officials. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
And that'll all be subject to change probably in the next six months.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and I hope it is simplified. So
Yeah.
far, There are no bills that have been approved that have simplified it yet. They've all died, and I don't really understand why, but I also,
Sausage. It's the
yeah, it is
sausage.
the sausage making, yep. So,
Democracy in action.
yeah, so anyway, but we'll see that may, hope springs eternal.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I didn't mean to kind of take so much time on that, but yeah, thank you, appreciate that. I think that's it, right?
Do we need public comment on that?
Well, we have development and leases we still have to talk about.
To the district council, public comment?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can have public comment on, well, I was gonna say public comment
on all three, or
Sure.
I'll open it up for public comment on any of the three.
Any members of the public wish to comment on
We did.
the committee reports or acceptance of department
We did
reports?
talk
If so, please use the raise hand function.
We have a
Yes.
We have one in-house.
It- Well, we typically take public comment first, so I don't,
Well,
Oh, you're-
it can be at your place. If they want to hear the report, then they comment, that's fine.
okay, absolutely. All right. Go ahead. I'll wait till the third report then. In airport property development and leases, we had a meeting two Fridays ago now. It was very productive, I thought overall. Mike, I think, or to the executive director, we asked Mr. LaPierre to give us an update on that. And I would just like to clarify, Director Pick, you can hear now?
I can hear.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, and
Sure. So,
Mr. Wilson.
so we have, two leases that we're working on kind of in development, actually three. The first is, and it was, if we go back to where Chris was presenting before, in the front building of 2801, there's room in the back, which we call Suite F, and Suite F is going to be occupied by the Granite Rock team during the construction of the commercial apron period. We basically have the deal executed. We were just waiting for kind of dial in the commencement date to kind of be coterminous with the start of construction out there. So we're thinking around November 1st for that. And they'd like a 2-year lease in that space. So I think that's pretty much a done deal. I think the last time we talked to Hulk had vacated space at kind of the corner space at the Fenton and Keller building again at 2801. There was there was a bit of a beauty contest where Kimley Horn came out and they looked at our space as others. So they've come back and affirmed that they want the space. And so we're just going through the process where their architect will come out and kind of do an inspection of the space, give his report. He was scheduled to come out last week, but we haven't had him scheduled yet. So they have a process that they go through. And I think that probably get that buttoned up in the next 30 days. And they want a 4-year deal there. So I think that'd be a great addition for that space as well. And then procedurally, we were approached early by TSA to renew their lease on their space here, which actually doesn't come up until October of next year, but we wanted to get it done early. So that's a 5-year deal, and it's back with them for final execution. So that's what we have going on in the lease world.
We discussed Woody's too.
I have a question on that. Will there be a term? Or, I mean, how do we manage that change of venue in the term without triggering any kind of breach? Yeah, okay. Okay. And it's all within the, great.
Anyone else? Director Pick, you're there. I just want to make sure no hands raised. Thank you. Okay, I'll go ahead and take it out to public comment. I ask you to go to the mic and identify yourself, please.
Good morning, everybody. Matt Pasqualaniak, I'm one of the current.
Just a sec, Matt. Mr.
Matt Pasqualaniak, I'm current, one of the tenants of district hangars here. I don't know if it's appropriate to, I have a couple comments regarding the move over to the north side, if that's appropriate. Primarily directed to Mike and the staff, if possible. I believe when we initially were talking about the move over there, we asked a question about the fuel stations, and I think the intent at that time was to have the fuel stations over there at the north side when those hangars were vacant. I had the opportunity to meet with Matt Wright last week, and he actually took me on a tour over there to look at the different things, and I found out that or at least he indicated that the fuel station, the self-serve fuel station, is not going to be ready over there until probably second quarter of FY24 or so. So we talked about, different options there. A couple questions come up in regards to that. One is, are the existing self-serve fuel stations going to stay open until the new one gets done? Okay, so the only, okay. Okay. He and I talked a little bit about that. He said he had some ideas about potentially stationing a truck out there on that side until the fuel stations were up and operating, just to try and mitigate the time it might take to get somebody out there. Sure.
I'm going to appreciate the comment. I'm going to ask that you direct the public comment to the board.
Okay. Sorry.
And I'm sure that the executive director would be happy to meet with you, but
Very well.
you probably have a couple minutes left.
Okay, and along with that, since there is not another option for self-serve, which is typically at a little lower price, would the gas available to the truck be at the self-serve price versus and it's not a big difference. He's been real good about this differential there, but that would help out initially. Additionally, another thing that he indicated to me and seems to play out is that the thought the intent initially was that they were gonna be controlling all the leases over there. And it turns out now that the district is gonna control the district hangar leases. I just wondered if there was a specific reason for that, and if that's gonna continue down the road. And then also, since the initial letter came out about the move over there, I have had a couple email transactions back and forth with Patricia, asking her about timeframe to move over there and any possibility of working with the tenants to select hangars. She's indicated to me that she would discuss that with the rest of the staff team, so I'll wait until they come out with something there. Probably not appropriate to go further with that here. But I'm curious about that and interested to see what might be able to be worked out there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Any other public comment also online? Director Pick returns. All right. Seeing no hands raised and no one else at the mic, I'll go ahead and close public comment for the standing committee items. We appreciate your questions. Thank you. Ad hoc committees, Director
No meeting.
Level. And go ahead. So, the district council, should I open that up for public comment?
Sure. Well,
You're on the side, yes. So I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment if anybody would like to comment on item B of the standing committees. Seeing none, go ahead and close it. For item C, can I do it all together? We'll do the reports and then take public comment? Okay. So, LAFCO, Director Leffel?
LAFCO met and we had a rather spirited discussion on the agricultural mitigation measures that LAFCO is, whether or not it's a direct policy or whether or not it's left up to the discretion of staff based on their criteria of how that is impacting our growth for housing primarily in Monterey County. So staff has been directed that at the October LAFCO meeting that we will have a workshop on the mitigation measures. And this was triggered by two things. One, an article in the Monterey County Weekly that stated that LAFCO said, and LAFCO didn't say, our employee said. So it was like, wow, we've never talked about this. So that was number one. And number two, it was a letter to the city of Gonzales in our, I don't know, June package, maybe May or June, stating that what they had just adopted as an agricultural mitigation measure was in conflict with LAFCO's policy. But then it turns out that LAFCO doesn't have a policy. So anyway, those two things triggered a very spirited discussion. And so we have directed staff to bring it back and we will see what we come up with in October. But it's time. I mean, LAFCO is still operating under commissions from 20 years ago of things that they thought were important. And our community has moved on. We've had a lot of changes, both in agriculture and in just the whole county as a whole, and where our population growth is and the needs of our community. So as a LAFCO commissioner representing all of the districts in Monterey County, not the airport per se, it is important, I think, that we really look at the full scope of things. And it's just kind of like having all these housing numbers. If we don't all work together, it's really easy to sit on a commission that is for housing and unhoused people and, you know, people that need benefits and say that you have to have it. and then sit on another commission and set policy that doesn't allow it.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at with some of our, some people who are on boards and commissions. So we're going to try to work through that. And as one LAFCO commissioner representing all of the districts, I pledge to you that I will do my absolute best to represent the entire community and the 440,000 people who live in this county, and to represent the needs of the special districts, because they're impacted totally by any growth and any change. And it's really important to take it all into consideration. So anyway, that was probably our largest. We did approve a budget, and I believe it was a 3% increase. So the first district, actually the very first check that they received, thank you, Mark, was the Monterey Peninsula Airport District. So we, once again, are stellar in paying our bills. And I chair also budget finance, and we met on Monday. And the unfunded liability increased a lot for the last year based on the 2022 numbers. And so there's a lot more money going out this year than there has been in the past. And we've also had the costs of the lawsuit with the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, who sued LAFCO. And that is going to court tomorrow morning. That Judge Wills had asked for a continuation from August to September based on how loaded up his calendar was. So he moved it from August to September. So tomorrow, we do have a hearing, and LAFCO and the Water Management District, I guess, will both present, and then he has, I think, 30 days to give his opinion. It might be 90 days, but my guess is he'll be pretty quick on this. So
And what will you be deciding?
he will be deciding if LAFCO district representatives, myself and Mr. Poitras, and Supervisor Chris Lopez, who was on at the time, if we voted inappropriately, not representing who we are elected by, and who we represent. So the allegation was that I voted, I guess, for the airport district. And when I made my motion, when I voted, I said it did not matter to the Monterey Peninsula Airport District because it is $1.42 a year to us. It was not that. I was voting for all of the districts in the county, and I was voting for all of the community, the entire county, the population, to try to do the right thing. So that was in my comments. It's easy to take one piece of what you say out and make that big. So we'll see if he listens to the full tape or not. But, I don't know how else to vote except to clarify why I'm voting the way I'm voting. And if people choose not to hear all of that, there's not much I can do about it. But I will continue to try to represent all of the districts because that's who I'm elected by.
So they're basically saying you should have reclused yourself and stepped aside and not voted.
They're basically saying that I represent a small one-fifth of the airport's district, and that community did not like my vote, those 7,000 or 8,000 people, and that I am not representing the people who elected me to this board. And so that is the crux of it. And that is where most of the opposition came from, the 5th district. Totally. And the most vocal actually comes, it's the 5th district. And 3 of us represent part of the 5th district on this. So, but I am the 3rd district of the airport district, and they did not appreciate my vote. They've been very vocal. As you know, they mounted a recall against me and could not get the required signatures to get it on the ballot. So Now it's in the judge's hands of how did I vote and why did I vote the way I did? They had two actions naming me. And one of them was that I also had a pre-bias toward Cal-Am because I had signed on a ballot measure several years ago against something or for, I can't remember. But Judge Wells dismissed that at the first hearing. So he studied that and he dismissed that. So now, and I have no love for Cal-Am. I just want to do the right thing for the community as a whole. And I tried to look at everything and vote the way I analyzed it and the way I believed was the best for the entire community. So there you go.
Both of those actions were dismissed?
No,
Just one.
just one. So
Well, yeah,
I'm
not-
still named tomorrow in the second action, but I
Good
did
luck.
not, that I did not represent the city of Monterey's where I live. So
If I may, I mean, I think the irony here is that the district is trying to claim that they can serve water cheaper, but yet they still get mired in these things and cost. And this is ultimately going to show up on my water bill. I mean, in terms of their over. That seems to get lost in the public narrative also, is that all of these actions that the district goes out that are all board driven. I don't think they're necessarily the staff of the district. The board is driving this district to make themselves very expensive. I mean, I totally agree with how you represented this board. You know, I wasn't on the board then, but I knew what was going on at the time, and I think that you acted totally within your purview. You're elected. You're allowed to make your decision. That's why you got elected. You know, to call into question somebody's thinking, you know, I think is a fool's errand, and I think that the judge will pick right up on that.
I appreciate it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So.
All right. Next. Director Pick, we know that Regional Taxi Authority, you've got some time before that happens.
Yep, no meeting.
Want to say anything? Okay. TAMC, I do apologize. I meant to address that and I will take that to do for next month. Do we need to have anybody?
Who's our alternate
Sure.
on TAMC?
I don't know.
We have a current alternate based on our,
Do we not?
yes, we do.
We
we've
must
always
have
had
an alternate.
They
beginning of the
disappeared when
year.
Bill went. He was the primary, but there was an alternate.
Or should we ask the executive director? Yeah,
Yeah, we've had them in the past.
We've always had an alternate.
otherwise could we ask the executive director to attend? Okay, and thank you. Special Districts Association. Let's see, the four of us here attended. Director Pick did not. We had over 1,000 people at the Monterey Conference Center. Was a good 4 days, and they had some pre-items as well. I think it was well attended. The room was packed at different times.
Yes.
Some good speakers and some great breakout sessions as well. I'll go ahead if any other directors would like to make comments.
I always attend the special district conference when it's held locally because I get so much out of it. I haven't taken the time to go out of town except once. I take that back when it was in Anaheim. But no, I got a lot out of it. One thing they do have, I was going to pass on to Amanda. Next Door has started a page for government entities. So as an airport, we could have our own page and put out press releases and stuff. So it was kind of like a Facebook, but it sounded interesting. And they have a paid person who actually lives in Seaside that we could coordinate. Anyway, I'll get that to you. You give it to Amanda, but.
Anything else?
No.
I sat in on a couple of sessions that were excellent. One that I left after about 20 minutes because my head was going to explode. Because it was so useless. But I believe that all of us, and I would really encourage when it's here in town that staff try to register and go to a couple of the sessions because they're very informative and very, very well put together for the most part. It's not one of those, oh, our good friends need to have their conference paid for, so we'll put them on a panel. It's truly people that have expertise and that's how. And I will say, I did not understand actuarials and unfunded liabilities for probably the first 4 or 5 years I was on this board until I started going to the special districts and hearing the people who were there who are experts in it and the way they explained it and the graphs they had. And then the light bulb came on in my head because it's confusing and the state makes it confusing because they keep losing money. So they make it so that it's really hard to understand. But I just totally, I cannot say enough about the sessions that they have. And I think it's really appropriate that when they're here, particularly that we try to get some staff there. So.
And in the past, we've gotten a discount on our insurance based on the hours of attending meetings and stuff. Are we still following through on that?
I don't know that specifically, but it's
Yeah,
sounds
or
like that.
SDMA, whatever
Yes,
that,
yes.
that we have. If board members or staff go to X number of hours of training, they'll give you a discount.
We still see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one way we offset the cost of the conferences because we see it back as a discount. So.
All right, and they're back in 2 years, right? Isn't it?
I can't remember.
I think it is. I think they said so. A lot of people flew into MRY too. Spoke to a lady who even attended from Florida and she was leaving very early. She had vacationed with her family and had flew into our airport. So that was positive as well. And MBAG, Dr. Miller.
Short meeting, nothing that's really airport related. I mean, the focus is still the number of houses required by the state. So nothing really to report out on that. Interesting.
Right. It seems a lot of entities and government agencies are certainly grappling with that at this time. I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. So anyone on the liaison representatives, item C?
Well,
Any of,
I do have a question.
Oh, yes,
We sort of skipped over Special Districts Association as far as the meeting. When do we have a meeting coming up? Is that,
October the 17th
okay?
will be our next meeting.
the other town.
And it will be at Bayonet Black Horse. As usual with dinner. So.
All right. I'll go ahead and open it up for any public comment. Seeing none in the room as well as none online, I'll go ahead and close that. Pending requests for future agenda items. We addressed the first one, I believe, the attorney at the beginning of the meeting regarding next month we'll have the adopt the rules for remote, more than likely anyways. Appoint the 2 board members. I'd like to make a update. I think the 3rd bullet, it's actually the Delray Oaks cost of service. I think there was a UAL matter that was kind of pending and we just needed an update. I don't think
Yeah, I can speak to that now if you like.
either that or another time. What's briefly?
And that amounts $4,250 a month.
But it's not settled with them.
Correct.
How do
We'll
you
get it.
anticipate getting that to a conclusion? You know, obviously, it's not on the agenda to talk about, but I think it's important.
Mhm.
So next month, maybe we can have something on it.
Anyone have anything?
No, I'm not, I'll just build on, I think that, that social meeting, I think was fruitful in that it opened up an channel to kind of start these discussions. And I think it's important. There's a lot to cover.
All right. The next board meeting we moved it 1 week later, correct?
25th.
The board meeting, so is it Tuesday, correct? Tuesday, the 24th? Okay. Got that, just,
Why did we do that again?
yeah, I think the board room is busy.
Is that LAFCO here?
Yeah, it's the annual LAFCO conference and we're hosting it.
What date did we move it to?
Say the 24th.
24th
24th.
on a Tuesday.
Thanks.
Just now, so.
Okay. Wow. 10:49. I think that's the fastest meeting I've ever attended, so. We've got it, yep, we've got an item at 1 o'clock today, and we'll go ahead and close out this meeting. 10:48, do I hear?
So
Yep.
moved.
Second.
Thank you all. Have a
you.
good day.